Don't know why I do that. Like, I think I can sing. I can't. I'm sorry for everyone's ears and eyes and all other various sense organs. Oh goodness. Hello everyone. Can you tell it's fall? Do we look fall enough yet? I got a bodysuit in the mail to wear for when I do rope things, and it just perfectly matched the color of this plaid jacket I have. So, one of the bisexuals adopting me, that's my question. Like, is this, it's gray, so it's like gray A, but I feel like the plaid is like giving bisexual energy, and so can I join the club? Like, can I join temporarily, please? Anyways, that's quite a way to start a video, isn't it? Hello, welcome, Phil's Violet, welcome, Jeme, welcome, NorCal Gal, welcome, James, welcome, Hayes Amelia. Oh, I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, Scare Bears. Welcome, ABSP. Welcome, Gorzak. Welcome, KBLF. How is everyone doing? Are we having a good start to our fall weather, our autumn season? I shouldn't be this energetic. This shouldn't be allowed. This should just be illegal. I'm not nearly awake enough to be this, or rested. I feel really awake. I've had this weird thing with my sleep schedule ever since all the drama with YouTube happened, by which I mean YouTube almost deleting my account. That just, like, turbo fucked my whole sleep schedule because I was up for so many days in a row at weird hours, and I haven't had insomnia, but my whole sleep schedule just went like this way. So I was sleeping for like 7 or 8 hours, but I was going to sleep at like 6 a.m. That's made my life a little bit more difficult. And I woke up today at 9:30. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we're going to finally go back to a normal time to sleep that doesn't confirm I'm a vampire. That's not going to happen till October, okay? We got to wait for the vampire reveal for like another month at least, okay? Good morning. Yes, I do the sarcasm. Well, for me it's evening, but I hope if it is a morning for you, it is good. I have to tell you, we, or at least some of us, don't hear the first few words or last few words in the stream. Oh, interesting. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I was singing. I sang to you guys, so you missed that apparently. I'm sorry. I said, welcome to the stream. That's what I said. So you get it twice now, or at least once. Is $40 a good price for a foundation? Now we're asking the real questions. I guess it depends on what's available in your shade range and coverage you want. How expensive are my two favorite foundations? I'm Googling it now. So the foundation I wear on camera is the Urban Decay Hydromaniac foundation, and that one's $29. And then the other one I wear that's more of like a daytime thing is the Ilia Super Serum Skin, which is $48. So there's a reason I wear one on camera that I use a lot more than the one for everyday life. So it depends on what you want, I guess. I feel like $40 is like kind of average if you're getting like a good amount of product, but you definitely don't have to pay that much. I think you can get a good foundation for like $20, but it depends on what's available for your skin tone, range, coverage needs. If I could though, if I were you, if you can find the foundation at a place where you can either test a swatch, like Sephora will do this, or if you can get something from Glambot, which is like a resell makeup site where people send their makeup in, they sanitize it and resell it. And if you can somehow find your shade on there, that can be a good way to try it. Also, like, honestly, I get a lot of makeup on Poshmark. I'm a big like secondhand person. I love secondhand. I sell secondhand. I buy secondhand. I love it. So there are some options. And a lot of people, especially with liquid stuff, it has to be new in box. So you can get pretty good deals that way. Anyways, pro makeup tips. You're welcome. The thing that everyone watches my content for, the makeup tips. 20% makeup YouTuber, 80% sex educator. That's the mix you get when you're on my channel. Oh, goodness. Oh, okay, so before we get into answering questions, let's just establish some good old-fashioned baseline understanding. So, it says below, 18 plus only. Please read the rules. So, do that. If you're not 18, don't be in the chat, please. That is for the adults. It is for your safety, my safety, everyone's safety. Just minors, kink, adults together at the same time. Not a good idea. Don't go there. Also, general rules, like certain things I won't talk about. So if you ask me how to do breath play, blood play, anything like that, general edge play, like doing advice, not going to talk about it. Mental health advice, anything that would typically be asked of a doctor or a therapist, not going to cover it. Not professionally trained to do that. I will help you find resources if you don't know where to find those resources. Also, tons of resources down below. You can read them. And those are really the baselines. I do answer questions in the order that they are received, unless you do a super chat. There are two options for that. You can do a super chat through YouTube. So if you see the $sign button below the little chat entry area, do a super chat on there. It'll show up on the screen. You can put a sticker. I'll read your question right away. Or if you actually use something called Streamlabs, which is also down below, that one actually is the best value because YouTube takes 30% of all super chats. Fun fact. And YouTube doesn't like me, so I don't like them. So if you don't want to pay YouTube any money, that is what Streamlabs is for. It's a good option. Anyways, that's all the intro we need. Let us cover some questions. Let's go into it. I should say, I don't really have a set theme for this live stream. I have some ideas of stuff that I want to talk about, but this is an interactive Q&A. So if you want to talk about something else, ask and we will talk about it. But I did want to talk about stereotypes and masculinity and femininity and submission and all of that because I just finished writing a video that isn't really like anything I think I've ever talked about before, but I think will be an interesting thought experiment, thought process to go through. But before I finish it, I just thought it would be fun to like kind of talk about it a little bit with you all and see what your thoughts and ideas are to kind of just like wrap up my own personal process. But yeah, otherwise just like ask whatever. All right, let's see. I thought I saw a question here. Yes, Alan asked, why are there so many fake DOMs out there? I think it depends on where you're looking. I think it depends on how you define what a fake DOM is. Because I think there's a lot of... I think when we say the word fake DOM, especially online, that tends to not include, like, always people that are fake DOMs. That also tends to include, like, bots, AI, phishing scams, catfishing, anything like that, where it's not actually necessarily a real person on the other side. It's just a scam to try and get you to buy gift cards. This is the collaboration I need. Guys, this is the collaboration I need. I need Kitboga to investigate the DOMs that like are the fake DOM profiles that are like, hey baby, what are you doing? Or is that, well, they wouldn't say that because they're DOMs. They'd be like, worm, send me your bank account information. Or like, if you want to submit to me, you have to go to Target and buy Apple gift cards, like whatever. Please, I have never needed something so much in my whole life. Just somebody please do that because I don't have the technical skills to, but I would love to see somebody else do it. But yeah, I think there's fake DOMs in the sense of scams, but then there's fake DOMs in terms of people that say they're DOMs but really aren't. And I've been meaning to work on a video talking about how to spot fake DOMs. I do have a video on scammers and frauds and how to avoid that and how to spot it. So if you don't know about that, not below, but it will be on my channel, which you can find the link for down below. So search on there. I have a video. It's like scammers and frauds in the BDSM community is the title, something along those lines. But I think there are always going to be people that pose for things they think are beneficial for them in some way. Like, there's a lot of fake male doms because they think it will get them what they want sexually. They think, okay, if I'm a dominant and I say I'm into this like BDSM crap or whatever, then I'll find somebody who wants to suck my dick. Whereas when it's a female dom, typically, and it's like a fake dom type, it's somebody that has a vague to no understanding of sex work that then is like, oh wait, I know how to make easy money because I saw someone on YouTube talk about how to sell pictures of their feet, and so now I'm going to be a pro dom and I'm going to trick a bunch of stupid men out of their money. Different motivations, but a similar issue in terms of fakeness. So if you want to avoid that, don't look at pro doms. Don't look at people that sell their services, and you will avoid a lot of fake pro doms. Because I think when I've looked in the BDSM community, like people that are actually lifestyle kinksters, I don't know anyone that's like a fake female dom that's a lifestyle dom. I know a lot of fake doms, or I know of scenarios with fake doms, but they're all like online professional services sorts of things, you know. And I get that for a lot of people the only option or the preferable option is a professional service provider, which is totally legit. I don't want to, you know, say anything bad about that in general, but it does open you up to more likelihood of someone being shitty. But you know, I guess you're not really asking for advice on like how to spot them, and again, there's a video about that already. But it's just people think they found a way to make easy money and they're going to exploit it, like people who sell feet pictures or people that think sex work is gross and then make an OnlyFans account. Like, there's lots of people that are not part of certain communities or groups and actively find them distasteful, but when they find that there's money involved, they're like, oh yeah, no, I can do this for money. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you thought this was gross and disgusting and immoral, but now because you can make money from it, it's okay? Okay, I'm gonna. I feel this way about people. I had an idea. Well, there's sort of like there's the subset of sugar babies that found sugar babying through Tumblr, and didn't realize that most sugar baby clients are like the rejects from actual full from full service sex workers, not actual, because like. They're like, it's like sugar babies that found sugar babying through Tumblr outlets and then didn't connect to part of a larger sex worker community. We're like, oh, I'm not a sex worker. I don't do sex for money. And then they're just like, okay, but it's sex for money with extra steps. And you can be in denial about that if you want. But sugar daddies are generally looking for a sexual relationship. And the reason they're there is because the other sex workers that are actually connected to each other rejected them. So be safe is what I'm saying. It's a whole, like, and that's like, I think that's really the core problem for me is when people are so afraid of like getting the label of sex worker or feeling like sex work is disgusting and they don't connect to a community and they don't connect with other people that actually do sex work. Like, it's like, you're just like missing out on like the vetting process and like how to actually find people that aren't dangerous or on like watch lists. Like, this is how you stay safe, okay? Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into like a sex work rant, but I have strong opinions about safety and people that think sex work is gross, and I think that's the hierarchy is dumb. Anyways, that's my opinion. The end. Ever since retiring last year, my entire schedule was across the board almost every day. Bad habits set in swiftly. I mean, but you're retired though, so I feel like that's fine. I feel like you should get to live your life however you want. I guess the stereotype in my head is that retirees wake up at like 6 a.m. and then do crossword puzzles and drink coffee, but if you sleep in until 2 p.m. and you're a retiree, like, I love that. Also, that's great. That's a plasma you're drinking. If not, no true vampire. Yeah, this is what they call it, clear blood. It's the new thing. It's like basically True Blood, but it's clear instead of red because it doesn't have iron oxide in it yet. I don't know if that makes sense for a vampire, but that's the literary corner I wrote myself into there, so we're sticking with it. Things aren't all bad here. We watched season 1.5 of Sex Education because the third season came out today. Oh, you know, I've had people recommend I watch Sex Education. If I remember correctly, is that the show where the kids' parents are like sex therapists or something, and he's asexual, and like his friends ask him for advice about stuff because of his parents? Is that show? I've never watched it. I feel like I'm somehow completely mangling the premise, but that's what I remember it kind of vaguely to be about. There's another, like, Netflix is like the new HBO, I swear. Is like Sex/Life? Is that the one? I've been meaning to watch Shelf Life. Yes, that's what I meant to Google. Thank you. No. Netflix. There we go. Thank you. No, now it's showing me self-made. What? It's like, Google hates the word sex. It's official. There we go. Okay, I found it. A suburban wife and mother takes a fantasy-charged trip down memory lane that sets her present on a collision course with her wild child past. I will tell you, I got like the most suspicious email that like, it could be real, but I'm not sure. And it's for Sex Life, and it was like, because I thought this was like just about one person and had like a set character cast, but it was somebody that was like asking me about, it was the weirdest email. It was somebody asking me about casting for the show and was like, hey, like, do you know anyone that would like want to be on our show and like share their stories about like alternative relationships and sexuality? Like, I was like, well, the wording is legit, but like this email is very sus. Bloodplay, yes, thank you, Alamar. Thank you. You're right. It's actually electrolyte lemonade vitamin C, and I like it because it has 300% of my daily vitamin C needs, which is really great for my iron pill, which would be a thing that a vampire would need to take. So, except for you can't see me because vampires don't have reflections, and so would I be able to be captured with a camera? Although I'm using a mirrorless camera, so there's actually no mirrors in this camera. Ooh, the conspiracy continues. I'm gonna rename this stream "Am I a Vampire?" I bring that up because I get the like funniest comments from people that just like don't know how to insult me, and I don't want to give them advice how to do it, but I swear once a week I get a random comment from somebody that's like, why does she wear makeup that's that pale? Doesn't she know that it's okay to be in the sunlight? Or what a weird freaky vampire chick. Or the most recent one I got, sexy but looks like a ghost. And I was like, correct. I could do without the sexy, but looks like a ghost. I have made no bones about. My pale skin is, in fact, genetic. As it turns out, I am extremely Celtic. So this is just what I have to work with, and there's nothing I can do about it. Okay, wow, I have thoroughly lost myself in the chat already. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Are your makeup products vegan? I thought you are. I mean, I definitely have makeup products I bought before I was vegan, but vegan is different from cruelty-free. Because Urban Decay is cruelty-free, but I don't know if some of their specific products are. I don't necessarily look into that, honestly, as much as I do, like, food and everything else. I probably should, but it's very hard to replace an entire existing makeup collection. So typically what I do, if it's something that I like already have, I'm just going to keep using it because throwing it away before it's expired is just wasteful. And then I replace it with other stuff. But there's a lot of options for like vegan makeup these days, so I don't tend to like worry about it too much. Yeah, because like the Hydromaniac prime like foundation I have is vegan. Pretty sure the Ilium one is vegan too. I'm gonna get checked now before I spread false information. Yeah, and all of Ilia's products are vegan, so there you go. Happy birthday. Happy anniversary. It's vegan. Oh, okay, good question, Jody. Will BDSM help with confidence because I struggle with it? Question mark. I feel like we had a whole conversation about this last week, and the answer is... What is the answer? I would say it's like it can, but maybe not in the way that you think it would. I think you don't have to be confident to start doing BDSM. The attitude I went into kink with was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And I just like didn't close my eyes. I ran straight ahead and I didn't look back. And I'm not like typically a confident person. Anyone that knows me personally can attest to this. I do not have the greatest of self-esteem. But with kink, I was like, this is a thing I want in my life. I really want to do this. I don't have any like friendships to lose over this. I don't have like a vanilla partner because I had just broken up with my last vanilla partner when I got into kink. And so I just went like, fuck it. And I just did it. And I had a great time. And it was like having a space where I could see so many different bodies and expressions of sexuality and just getting so many new tools around communication and boundary setting, relationship styles, relationship preferences, like all of that information, and kink being a space to practice that and learn more about it did help me be more confident. But it's not like you become a dom and then you become confident because you're in control. I think that's the stereotype that a lot of people kind of go with, is like, oh, like I'll become a dom because I struggle with self-confidence, and so if I put up enough boundaries and barriers and rules around my partner's interactions with me, then my confidence will never be damaged because I'm like the dom one and I'm in control. That's not really gonna give you confidence. It's just gonna make you a controlling asshole. Like, you gotta be careful with that. I'm not saying you can't be a dom if you have low self-confidence, but you gotta be careful about your motivations behind it, because if you're consciously or subconsciously like choosing to be dominant because you think it's gonna solve your self-esteem problems, it's not going to do that. It's just going to have more rules, more walls up. It's going to make your relationships just not as satisfying, I guess is maybe the easiest way to put it. But I think the kink community can help a lot with confidence. And I think for me, one of the things that kink helped with in terms of confidence was being able to be my like full self. And that's an aspect that I think a lot of people don't consider, is like, if you are kinky on the inside and you know you have those desires and you want that life, you want that kind of relationship, when you finally get to do it in real life and you're around other people that understand it, it is like the most freeing thing in the world. And I think that can help with confidence in this sort of indirect way, where that guilt, shame, fear of judgment, worrying about how you come across to other people, that is definitely lessened. It doesn't necessarily go away, and it is like different. It is different, but when you can be your full honest self, because the typical social repercussions for doing so aren't really in play in kink spaces in the same way, that can't help with confidence. So that's kind of a long answer, but it's sort of like a kind of maybe, depends on what you're looking to get confidence from in kink. So hopefully that helps. Can you talk about submission as more than just a role, but an identity? I would love to. What do you mean by that question? Like the difference between people that like play being submissive versus submissive being who you are? Do you mean like that? Or are you talking about like something else? Follow up, let me know. I would love to answer your question. how do I correctly wire a ceiling fan? I would direct you to an electrician, potentially, or several friends that do electronics as a hobby and are willing to lose fingers. That would be my suggestion. I stay far away from electrical appliances. I actually have no electrical appliances. I'm not even filming right now. This is all an illusion. I don't even have a light or a camera. I believe in no technology at all. I'm a Luddite. The wires and the electricity scare me because I don't understand it. No, I'm being very sarcastic, by the way, for those who don't necessarily read sarcasm. I do like technology. I am just scared of electricity. Freaks me out. I don't understand it. I've never taken a physics class before, which is weird considering what I studied in school. I somehow managed to get away with never having to take physics, even though I took everything else, but whatever. Just managed to dodge that math bullet. Ooh, okay, so Amber says, I have a play party coming up and my submissive is already established in the community. Is there any advice for the etiquette with my existing submissive and other potential partners? My first party. Okay, I think that was just an end note. Was that it's the first part? I actually don't. I thought there might be a second part, but I don't think there is. If there is, I'll find it later and we'll talk more. So, okay, so already established in the community. Is there any advice for etiquette with my existing submissive and other potential partners? I think that I don't think there's any like special etiquette in particular. I mean, if you're going to a high protocol party and it's like very formal and you're gonna have titles and fancy dress, but not in the sense of British fancy dress, like wearing a tuxedo, not a costume party. If you are basically in any sort of average kink space, I don't think there's really going to be that much of like a higher or different level of etiquette. It's just going to be like, be nice to people, introduce yourself, make pleasant small talk. I would say like, just don't try to like project your energy out too much. Like, don't try to energy dominate other people, if that makes sense. Like, don't try to be the most dominant one in the room. You know, don't talk over other people. Like, it's gonna be mostly like general basic etiquette advice when you're in a new space. And I know it can be weird for power dynamics when you're the dominant one, but it's the submissive with more experience and the submissive who knows people. But for that, I would really just think about it as like, well, one, you and your submissive are like actual like real people at the end of the day. But besides that, it is okay for your submissive as a service almost to introduce you to people, to be a good host, to be a good representative of their local community. Like, all of that can be a service and doesn't necessarily mean that they're like the one in power or control. Like, they can be the one to make introductions and like that can be a service thing, right? Because like the Queen of England doesn't introduce herself and go, hello everyone, I'm the Queen of England. Like, it's somebody else announces that the Queen of England's arriving, you know? So it's okay if the submissive knows a little bit more or knows people. But as far as like specific etiquette around like potential partners or other people, like, I guess I don't know the exact scenario, if it's like people your submissive have actually played with before, people you might potentially be dating together or separately. If it's anything where your partner has a specific existing relationship with that person and you think you might run into them, it's good to have a conversation ahead of time so that way you like already kind of know names, know that relationship, know the history a little bit, so you know how to interact with them appropriately. Because what your partner wants or what that person is comfortable with is going to vary a lot, right? Because I definitely know some people where they are like super happy to be friendly with everyone and love having conversations with everyone and just like wants everyone to be in the group and they don't care who you are and they're happy to talk all the time. And sometimes it's like they just want to say hi and bye real quick and they want to get back to like doing a scene or doing aftercare or whatever else. Like, they're not really there to socialize. So like, let your submissive kind of guide you in that direction. But yeah, let me know if you have any like follow-up thoughts, any additional information I might need. But at the end, like, have fun at your first party. Super, super exciting. And I hope it goes well. They are in my local community. I can't believe this. They are, I think, still hosting a party that I should actually check. Because at first when they posted, they didn't have any rules about like a mask mandate, even though there's an indoor mask mandate here, or like vaccination requirements. And I think they are requiring masks now. I'm going to check the event. Ooh, it's sold out. It's this Sunday, everyone. Doesn't everyone want to go? And it's like the orgy party, so it's like, oh, of course. Thanks for having like the one event that makes me feel uncomfortable to go to. Although it doesn't matter because I wouldn't be able to go to an orgy party this weekend, even if that was my thing. And it was not COVID times, so there's really no reasons why I would ever go to this event. But I don't even think they're like event rules like explicitly say. Like, it's weird because you go to the event page and there's like no things about like, hey, like masking, vaccines. You have to go to like one specific page and then it tells you, oh, this is like a mask only, vaccine only event. It's super weird, but they're still doing it. And I'm like, how many people are going to this event? Like, yeah, it's at the very bottom. They're like, oh, you have to have proof of vaccine, and then you or like indoor masks attire, and it's like, okay, is this even okay? I guess we're doing this. Like, I don't know how I feel about it. I just don't know. Like, so much close contact with people, but I mean, people are gonna have fun and do stuff anyway, so whatever. I just don't know how I feel about it. I just kind of like don't trust this organization as much as I used to, and so I'm very suspicious of like what their protocol will actually be for maintaining it. And I'm just salty that the first thing they pick for, literally, it is a kink community center. It's not like a shared space with poly. It's not a shared space with swingers. It's not a shared space with like vanilla like tantric sex people. Like, it's for BDSM people, and the first thing they do is an orgy party. We couldn't, like, not even a social event. Like, I was like, you guys aren't even gonna do, like, a fundraiser, like, social, just, like, hang out and talk to people? You're just gonna be like, yeah, full orgy, that's what we're doing. First on the menu, baby. Like, who answered that in the survey about what to bring back first? Because I feel very alienated right now. Right now. Oh, yeah. No, YouTube definitely takes big super chat money, for reals. They take 30%. It's ridiculous. Listen, Trisha Paytas complained about 5%. Okay, he takes that 5%. And YouTube, he takes that 30%. So, like, I have way more room to complain, okay? There's so much more room to complain. Oh, God. YouTube takes every cent I can get it scrubby mitts on. Pretty much. It's like Google. You weren't making enough money already. You had to take literal pennies from streamers to make it functional. Is that, what are we paying for? Oh gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna say Molisher asked, any advice for dealing with acephobia in another niche community? I've seen some in my local goth community and it hurts. My old vanilla friends kink shamed, now this. Oh, well, how do you kink shame a vanilla person? That's my I am kind of curious about that. You don't have to share. But how, like, are you saying your old vanilla friends kink shamed you? I'm not sure which thing that the kink shamed is modifying in that sentence. But how would I deal with that? Because, like, my number one option is just, like, don't go to places that don't have your values and don't support you. But when it's the goth scene, like, you want to talk about, like, niche communities. Like, we complain that the kink community is dying. It doesn't have anywhere to go. The goth scene's dying. The only goth club here, it's, like, $80 to go to. You have to go to at least 3 events before they make you a member. You have to pay membership dues. You have to go to at least a certain number of times every single month that they cancel your membership. Like, it's, like, the most, like, gatekeepy thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I'm like, this isn't worth it. I don't have, like, I'm going to kink events. I don't have 3 other nights of the month to also go to your parties just to dance. Like, I got other stuff on the menu for my evenings, okay? Like, I'm not gonna just go here. So I never really engaged with it too much to know about what it's like being in a goth-centric space socially. But for dealing with a niche community in general, gosh, it's like you could talk to the event organizers and like message them about like, hey, this thing happened that made me uncomfortable. But then it's like, if the organizers are the ones that are doing the acephobia, that doesn't necessarily help. I mean, I feel like I would almost like, instead of tackling it head on, like if you don't feel that's like an option, I would almost want to find a way to try and like reach out to other aspec goth people, because I know we exist for sure. We're out there. So if you can find a way to reach out to other like demi, ace, goth people, or just like general queer people, that can be a lot easier if you can find a group of like, hey, we're like specifically all the same thing. We all vibe together. We all get it. That is a lot better than I think sometimes trying to tackle it alone head on, even if you just find other people. Because if you're around other ace people, then less likely to experience acephobia, you know what I mean? Or at least you can compare notes and share experiences. And then if you notice it's a pattern or if you've experienced similar things, then it's a lot easier to try and advocate for change around like specific issues or language. But in the few times they have been in goth-centric spaces, they do tend to be very sexually forward. And I think there is definitely this expectation of sort of like alternative looking women as being more sexually available, and that makes things hard, doesn't it? It does. I don't know about this. Anyone who calls herself a findom is a legion of sponge. I don't think I'd go that far. Like, I think it's, if you're going to be somewhere on the spectrum for your own safety, I think it's easier and safer to be on the like avoid at all costs part than on a blindly trusting anyone. Like if there was a scale, but I don't think it's necessarily anyone. I definitely know people that do financial domination as part of their services, like Princess Kali, for example, and she has a couple of really great classes that if you are a dom, you can take and learn. There's a couple of really good classes on financial domination. Then, and like specifically, it's like ethical financial domination, and Princess Kali takes it real seriously. But that certainly doesn't mean that everyone does. I know a lot of people have had very negative experiences around financial domination, and I can see why it would make it hard to trust people. But I definitely don't. Anytime you say everyone or anyone that does this is bad, it's like you're always going to run into exceptions, you know? I just want to say how it's amazing how you've covered many topics in your videos. I was ghosted recently and happened to randomly find the video on that. It was very insightful and reassuring. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I hope you're doing well. Ghosting definitely sucks. It's like, it is such, I don't want to say some modern phenomena of dating, but like just the little sound clip of ugh, like that sound clip, just like that. That's how it feels. It's super gross, and I'm sorry that happened to you, but you will be okay. You will be okay. Maybe not immediately, but at some point. I feel like I'm never sure about the definition of quote fake dom. Sometimes I feel like it's maybe just pull who want to get like pull like the fortune board, like or people. I guess that probably is probably not making a 4chan reference. You probably mean PPL as in people. Sorry, I am too online. Who want to get off but aren't really interested in BDSM. Yeah, I think that's definitely, I think I talked about it a little bit, but yeah, it's definitely like specifically for male dominance. I think there's a lot of it that comes back to like, ooh, I heard submissive women or freaky chicks that'll want to send me pictures of their vaginas and suck my dick whenever I want them to, and I can get cool videos to share with all of my friends to show how manly I am and that I can get women. Haha, I found the solution to solve all of my insecurity problems. Like, it can definitely be that. It can definitely be just like wanting to get off. But I think that can also happen for submissives too. Like I think there's a lot of and actually I watched a video on Patreon last night that Morgan Thorne did talking about the ratio, and it's called The Ratio, between male submissives and female doms, and how there are a lot of male submissives that maybe, like honestly because of pornography, don't understand a lot of the differences between being a bottom, being a fetishist, being a submissive, and being a slave. And so they tend to use submissive as a catch-all label, when really a lot of people that say they're looking for submission are really looking for like a way to get off or satisfy their fetish or to receive sensation, but without doing power exchange. And that's obviously like the point of submission is power exchange. And if you're not doing that, you're doing something else. And I think that can cause a lot of problems, because a lot of like fake submissives are people that don't understand what the definition of submission is and doesn't realize that what they're looking for is either a service provider that they can pay, or they're looking for just sex and not actually power exchange. Maybe this is just my experience and I am a sub who gets a lot of messages from male subs, but why do you think male submissives are so pushy? I mean, there's a lot of theories about that. I feel like one thing we could look at is men in general are sort of rewarded for being aggressive. And I know I'm getting into gendered stereotypes here for a second, so just like I apologize, but we're talking about the cis men, so there's gonna be some general statements made. I feel like in general, men oftentimes get rewarded for being aggressive, and just because they now want to be the one receiving a sensation instead of the one giving a sensation doesn't mean the like aggressive forcefulness for getting what they want goes away. It just gets applied in a different direction. So instead of being like, "Hey baby, get on your knees and suck my cock," they're like, "Excuse me, mistress, please, will you allow me to worship your feet as you step all over my body and then kick me in the balls?" Like, it's still about getting themselves off. Like, it's just like the direction of who's doing the activities are different, but the aggression and presumption is still the same. It's just, I don't know. I think it's just like, because we live in a society where men are socialized to get what they want through a certain method. We don't have a lot of good conversations about consent with anyone, where we don't have good conversations about navigating relationships, especially online, with anyone. And through pornography consumption, they get this idea that I guess any woman that's into BDSM is a dominatrix, which blows my mind. Like, not every, like, do you, like, are you aware that there's female submissives? Like, do you just think all women are actually dominant? Like, what is going on in that brain to make these assumptions about these things? I don't understand it. But yeah, I just think it has to do with like how people are socialized to communicate, and like taking that into how they pursue other things. I think in the slightly more charitable direction, I think it's also, sorry, I'm going to adjust my chair. I feel like it's also somewhat like, how do I explain this? It's like desperation, I guess. It's like they really, really like want to, maybe they have like a particular fetish or a particular like kink they have, and they're like, they've been trying for so long to find someone, and they've tried to introduce it to their girlfriends. It hasn't worked out, and they just decide that like, well, I'm just going to message everyone because like eventually it might work, and like if I can't find someone, I'm never going to be able to do this, so it's better to just try a million times and strike out 999,999 times and maybe get one person that actually wants to do the same thing as me. And if I have to be forceful to do it, instead of behaving like a normal person, that's going to be what I do. So it might also just be like sheer desperation and feeling like they don't have another way to meet people. I don't know. Because the problem is, like, I've never met anybody that has ever admitted to being one of those people that sends, like, hundreds of messages to, like, every woman on FetLife every single time anyone posts a photo or a status or replies to a comment. I've never met anyone that does that to be able to ask them to explain, why do you do this? Does it work? Because I want to know, because clearly there are a lot of people that do this and no one that actually talks about doing it. And so there is just this big black box around that behavior for the logic behind it. And I just want to know. Like, because I don't think that the pickup artists are like telling them to do that. Because I think anytime you get into like acts of desperation, that's usually not a pickup artist technique because it makes you look weak and not manly. So I don't know. Where are they getting that information to do that from? Which is a better question. Are they getting it? They're just in your own brain? Do you come up with that idea? Do you see other people doing it? Does it work for other people you know and then you try it? Is it pickup artists? Is it someone else? Like, where is this coming from? So fascinating. Is it possible to be dominant without using violence? Yes. Power exchange and pain are two entirely separate things. And if you never want to do anything physically painful in your BDSM, you absolutely do not have to. Also, sort of related, what are the differences between shibari and Western style bondage might be an interesting video. I would love to do like a history of bondage video series. Like, it would almost have to be like a part 1, a part 2, and then like a modern history, I think, almost. But that would be really fun. Adding it to the infinite list of ideas. Now I remember the question, am I a butthole for rejecting someone in the DMs because I don't find them physically attractive? They were also spamming me, but that's not as relevant for this conversation. I think you are allowed to reject anyone for any reason. You don't have to consent to having a relationship with someone because you like feel bad for them. As long as like it's, you know, respectfully let them know you're not interested. Like, you don't have to be an asshole back. But if you just say, hey, like, you know, I just don't really feel like we're that compatible. I don't want you to like waste your time when you could be finding someone else. Just like have a nice day. Like, you can be nice, so you don't have to be an asshole about it. But rejection itself doesn't make you an asshole. It's like how you do it. And I think if that's because you don't find them physically attractive, I think that's totally valid. I know a lot of people would consider that to be shallow, maybe. But at the end of the day, like, for a lot of people, and I'm asexual, so I'm like a little bit less held by this than other people, so take my advice on this with a grain of salt because I don't fully understand this. But if you are somebody that's allosexual and you want to be in a relationship with someone because you are romantically and sexually attracted to them, having that physical attractiveness is typically a trait that goes along with that. Like, typically you do want to be with people you are attracted to. So I understand why you would reject someone because of that. And I feel like it depends on how long. Like, I think if you were like dating someone for 2 years and then you spontaneously decided actually this person's ugly and then dumped them because of that, that would come across as a little shallow because then what was the other 2 years before that? But if it's like you went on 2 dates and you find you didn't really have like physical compatibility in person, that seems like a perfectly reasonable reason to not continue to waste anyone's time. Where do you go to get good dom advice online that isn't selling services? Classes? Go to FetLife. I don't know if you count that as selling services, but like there's a lot of classes that are online on FetLife that are hosted by reputable organizations, reputable teachers. There's tons of ebooks that you can download if you want something that's digital. I don't buy anyone's like, God, if anyone on YouTube is trying to sell you their like worksheets, ASMR bundles, like 3-week course for couples, $300 tantric sex getaway weekend, do not buy that. I definitely know there's people that have, and we've watched videos like this on Patreon before, where people talk about BDSM on YouTube, maybe as the whole theme of the channel, maybe as like a once in a while video. And the reason they do it is to sell something. They talk about it because they want to advertise in the video that, ooh, if you go to my website, I have this special on this program you can buy. It's $50 off and it'll solve all your relationship problems. Or if you want to know how to do this thing, go to my website and I have this workbook you can download, and the workbook is free, but then you're going to get spam for the rest of your life asking you to buy this other stuff. Like, even if it's a free workbook, like, don't download it. Like, it's literally, listen to me. This is what pickup artists do, but it's also what, like, tantric sex relationship life coaches do. Air quotes. Air quotes. Like, there are a handful of people, like 3 people I trust, that are actual, like, people that do coaching, but a random person on YouTube is not one of them. So if you're looking for online advice, if somebody stops in the middle of a video to advertise their $300 tantric sex weekend getaway, like, don't listen to them. Don't take their advice. That's my advice. Like, it's a little different when it's like an ad spot in a video and it's somebody advertising Bright Sellers or what are the other ones? Skillshare, like, things like that. It's different when it's like an ad spot. Like, it's specifically when they're selling something for like an insane price that's like on a private website where I'm like, oh, this is like starting to get kind of scammy, actually, because it requires you to buy something outside of YouTube as opposed to just listening to an ad spot. So, yeah, but I think FetLife classes are a good option. Ebooks, discussion groups, other people in your local community that are online. I mean, otherwise, it's like, I get a passive, like, I get a lot of ideas just when I'm, like, passively interacting with people on Twitter. I follow a lot of pro-doms, and I hear kind of what their lives and their work is like, but that maybe isn't what you're looking for necessarily. But there are options. It's just, not necessarily the best if you're not into reading, but there are a lot of audio books available now, too, for stuff like that. So, you know. I've seen fake doms, specifically the long-distance chastity slavery doms, and some of them actually had subs. This one I talked to had so many subs, I had no idea what SSC or RAC was. Oh, I feel so bad for everyone involved in that. That's so sad. Oh my goodness. How do you have someone in chastity? Oh, I mean, I guess at that point, like, the person could just be pretending to be in chastity and then taking the cage off all the time, and the dom wouldn't know, and they don't care, and then the bottom doesn't know, or the submissive doesn't know because they don't care because it's virtual. So I feel like, I don't know how dangerous, like, I guess it could be worse is what I'm saying, but that still is like, oh, that's sad and kind of dangerous. How does this happen? This shouldn't be allowed. There should be a bare minimum level of education, and I just feel like there's no way to, like, effectively gatekeep the community without it being too strict and unfair. So I just feel like the option is to educate people to know what to ask about and to know how to spot a scam. And yeah, if you ask a potential dom and they don't know what SSC is probably a sign to move on. But if you don't know what you don't know and your only idea of BDSM is from porn, like, you're not gonna know how to do that. So I was watching a John Oliver bit the other day, and I cannot remember which one of his videos this is in. If anyone knows who, like, which one this is in, please let me know. But he had a bit where he talked about there was like some issue with like a chastity, like, no, it was like a butt plug. It was like a locking butt plug or something. I swear to God, it was on John Oliver. It was on YouTube. I swear. I'm not lying. Like, if anyone knows what I'm talking about, please let me know. Because watching that, it was just on in the background randomly. And I was like, wait, is John Oliver talking about butt plugs? And then I, like, listen, it's all going mainstream at this point, all right? It's happening. In sex education, he's not asexual, but is a virgin. His mom is a sex therapist. I thought people recommended it to me because there was an asexual character. Is there, like, a asexual character in there? Somewhere? Did they talk about asexual? Like, there had to be asexuality in sex education, I think. If there's not, then I will be sad, but I will understand. Speaking of vetting and people being on an unsafe person list or something, is there a proper way of letting a dungeon or DM know if someone's that's unsafe or an abuser? There is documented proof, but I've been kind of scared and left it alone. Okay, so you're talking about reporting. Okay, that's different from like finding out, because I have tons of videos on like how to find out if someone is safe or not. If you want to report something, every dungeon I've gone to has had on. Let me see if I can find you like maybe a keyword or something you can look for on a website. Give me a second. So every kink organization that I have been to has some kind of reporting features somewhere. I'm trying to think of like something. I mean, on here, there's just sort of like in the FAQ, there's like a, if you've had issues, like contact us here. So usually there's like some kind of team or board director or organizer or someone that you can email and be like, hey, I had this experience, like how can I share it? But there should be some kind of like policy or protocol in place for that. And if it's not, I'm sorry, that does make it a lot harder. But I would like, if you don't want to like if you don't feel comfortable, like don't just start the conversation by being like, here's this information I have, but just ask them like, hey, what is your like policy around reporting incidents, and like where do I do that? Like just like a general question. You don't have to be specific. You don't have to say that you have something. You don't have to say you think anyone's dangerous. Just a general like, hey, do you have like a reporting policy or like process for incidents that happen? You know, the problem is, and I understand why this is the case, so I'll explain it. But the problem is if it's something that happens outside of that community's space and purview, like if it didn't happen at one of their events and it's not criminal, and it happened in private, like it happened like not even at a different event, but like in somebody's home or somewhere else, it can be really difficult for a event to like ban someone after the fact for something that happened outside of their premises, because that kind of opens them up to potential litigation if they do that for stupid bullshit reasons. So unless it happened at an event that they associate with, like if it happened at like another party at a different venue in another state that's close by or across town or somewhere else, like they might be able to talk to those organizers and get enough information to be able to make a ban. And if there's like criminal records or a restraining order or something, like something on file somewhere that's like official, then they can usually deal with that also. But if it's something that happened in private that has no sort of recording associated with it, no sorts of professional like legal reports or cases or anything, then they might, it like totally depends on the space at that point. Some of them will decide to ban, some of them won't, some will ask for a mediation process, some of them will try to do some kind of transformative justice bullshit, which nobody needs my opinion about transformative justice, but I will give it anyways, which is I do not know of a time where I have ever seen transformative justice work outside of the original space where transformative justice was intended to be used, which is in like indigenous communities where there is a long history of intergenerational trauma and harm and a very adverse relationship with the police and government structure of the nation they live in, typically outside of the indigenous nation. So they have to kind of do their own self-policing. But that's like a completely different context. And then I guess a bunch of like white people decided that they thought that sounded like a good idea, and then they came up with titles like transformative justice expert, transformative justice professional advisor, and it's like, okay, but you've never actually done transformative justice before. You're just a social worker. That's like a different skill set typically. So I've never seen anyone that's gone through that kind of process where it's been like actually good for all of the parties involved. Like when I've known people that have gone through it or I've heard about it secondhand, it always takes like a fucking year. No one emails anybody. There's always some kind of additional trauma that happens because of it. Like it always ends up making things worse before it makes anything better. So I would love to see it work, but it just seems like one of those ideas that people went, we like that idea, let's take it, and then remove the parts that actually make it work, and then it doesn't actually work outside of that like original context. Mostly because I think it's a lot of people that claim they're like professionals and experts in something that we've only been doing as a community for like 4 years. And when people are claiming to have expertise in something and they don't really have that, then it can just lead to a lot of additional harm, and people don't always recognize that. So anyways, nobody asked for my opinion about that, so let's move on to a different question. I saw something about mirrors. Where did it go? Vampires can't be seen with silverback mirrors. Oh, is that why they can't be seen in mirrors? It all makes sense now. It's all coming together. But most nowadays mirrors are made with silver, so they should be able to see themselves now. That makes so much sense. I love it. Thank you for the explanation. It's not just that they're mirrors, it's that it's silver. Of course! It makes so much sense. Even though silver... Isn't silver the one that's bad against, or like werewolves don't like it? I guess, I thought it was like holy silver that vampires didn't like. Listen, there's so many different types of vampire lore and rules that it's hard to keep track of. Are we doing True Blood rules, Twilight rules, Anne Rice rules? Like whose vampire rules are we using, you know? Let's keep it consistent. What do we call a vampire at the beach? Ash. Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you for the joke. That's great. Funnily enough, I made 3 of my BDSM partners at a vampire LARP. Okay, first of all, that sounds amazing. Sign me up. Second of all, absolutely. Like, listen, LARP community, with like the SCA or the like Ren Fair people, poly and kink. Like they're not quite a full circle, but it's like a 75% overlap with each one. There's a strong connection between those 3. Like some of the first people I ever knew that were poly, like all did LARPing together. Like it was just like, it was like a general like fantasy world. It wasn't like a vampire thing, but LARPing and kink go together. It's all just role play in different settings, basically. So it makes sense. No better Friday night to be had. Happy all. Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate that. I hope you all are enjoying it. I'm having a great time. This is great. What time is it? We have an hour left. Or 55 minutes. Or whenever. I'm like 30 minutes behind in the chat, but don't worry. I'll catch up eventually. I almost always do. I've never caught them live before, but I always watch them after post. Love your content. Oh, thank you so much, Tracy. Glad you could catch it. And I love Hawaii. I will visit sometime. Maybe not you personally, but in Hawaii. I will end up there at some point. Mark my words. Having a lowercase name in chat absolutely does not imply that you're submissive. So I don't know what kind of IMVU Second Life MMO roleplay chat rules we're going off of here, but in my chat in real life, like let me tell you this, the capitalization thing was invented by people on the early internet who were role-playing doing power exchange on like alt.net forums and like email lists and shit. So there's something like implicit about that in BDSM that's like lowercase means submissive and uppercase implies dominant. Like, that was invented to, like, enhance long-distance roleplay stuff on the internet, like, 25 years ago. So don't necessarily worry about that. If your YouTube name is capitalized or lowercase, I do not even pay attention to that. I do not assume you're a submissive or dominant. I would advise never, ever taking anything for granted in terms of, like, this thing means this person is this label. Because as we have seen through many conversations, stereotypes like that and assumptions very rarely work out in everyone's favor and does typically make somebody involved look a little bit short-sighted. Here's a question I have. How do you feel about, quote, traditional relationships between men and women? Stereotypically, men taking care of women generally and the women being submissive to their husbands. So I watch a lot of Fundy Fridays. Does anybody here got any Fundy Friday fans in the house? That's what I always watch before I get ready for my live stream. Ooh, Fundy Friday posted. I'm gonna have that on while I do my makeup or check my lights or whatever. We love Fundy Fridays. So I bring that up because Fundy Fridays talks a lot about, like, fundamentalists and, like, their views on, like, traditional Christian relationships. I haven't actually seen her talk about this, but there is something called Christian domestic discipline, which is CDD, not to be confused with CCD, which is what I had to do as a kid, which is, like, Catholic school when you don't go to Catholic school, like, during the daytime. So two very close acronyms. It's like the SSC and RAC of, like, traditional Catholic Christianity, except for it's CCD and CDD. But nobody cares about that joke. That's not funny to anyone. But like, Christian domestic discipline, I personally consider that to be a form of spiritual abuse. Like, either it's people that don't realize what BDSM is doing BDSM on accident, or it's spiritual abuse. That's, like, I don't want to say there's the only two ways to do it, but, like, that's either it's BDSM by a different name or it's spiritual abuse. Now, if you're talking in a more general sense of traditional relationships, like, in terms of, like, 1950s households, man goes to work, he's the breadwinner, he has the car, he mows the lawn, he takes out the garbage, the woman raises the kids and does the budgeting and gets the groceries and all of that. I think that everything always goes back to informed consent. And I think if I were going to have an issue, or the issue I do have with things like traditional relationships, a lot of them are based on this idea either that God has made certain genders to perfectly do a certain thing and nothing else that they can ever deviate from, or they believe that there is something genetically in women and men, cis women and men, because trans people don't exist in the logic of this universe. Like, women and men have very specific roles that they're supposed to do, that they're, like, genetically predestined for, even if there's not a God involved. And men are supposed to do this thing because XYZ reason, and women are supposed to do XYZ reason, and men are inherently superior, women are inherently inferior and submissive. Because I think in that context, submission isn't seen as a choice. It's seen as, like, oh, you're, like, the fragile, like, weaker gender. And if you're pursuing something like that, where you have a power imbalance in your relationship because you believe one half of the relationship is inherently on a, like, genetic and or spiritual level inferior or superior, like, I'm not, like, super comfortable with that. I think I just don't like that, because it's not, like, I just don't think we should have any kind of beliefs about any sort of group being inherently inferior or superior. Like, it just seems kind of gross to me. But if it is something where you consciously choose because you want to, because it feels good to you, and you want to have a household set up where the man is the breadwinner and you're taking care of the kids at home because that's, like, the dynamic you want, and you consciously choose it, and you are otherwise, like, egalitarian in your relationship, I think that's different. But you also said, like, the woman being submissive to the man is, like, again, that's just sort of, like, unspoken, unnegotiated power exchange. And I don't think anyone should be inherently dominant or submissive in their relationships without that being something that's negotiated first. I know that people do, but like in an ideal world, I want people to consciously go into their relationship choices and not feel like because I'm the woman, I need to just submit to like whatever my husband or my spouse or my boyfriend does to me and just be okay with it because I'm supposed to be like inferior to him. Like that, like I don't think that's like a way to have like a healthy life most of the time or end up in like a happy relationship. Because at the same time, like, you can be, people forget this, like, because BDSM, typically, there are people that are, like, female supremacists and, like, male supremacists and stuff, which I'm, like, maybe I'll make a video about at some point, because it's just ridiculous, but, there are people that do power exchange where because they don't believe that, like, one gender is inherently one way or the other, it's not about like you're submissive because you're the woman. It's like you're submissive in this way because we both want that and we negotiated for it. But then outside of those areas where you're submissive, like we're egalitarian and we reached that agreement for you to be submissive from like an egalitarian level playing field. Like does that difference make sense? Like there's like starting from respecting each other as equals and then negotiating how the power will be different. And then there's believing, okay, inherently just because of our genders, like you're here and I'm here. Because if you are locked in here and here, like there's no wiggle room. Like if you're unhappy and you're down here and you think your relationship sucks, but you can't do anything about it because, well, my husband is drinking and he steals my money and he doesn't pay attention to the kids, but I can't do anything about it because like I'm supposed to be submissive to him as like a good godly wife. Like you don't have anywhere to go. You can't advocate for yourself. You can't like revoke your consent in that scenario because it's always going to be here. Whereas when you start from an egalitarian place, if you go here and things become uncomfortable or something isn't working, you can go back to here and then renegotiate how it's going to look in the future and how to make it better. But when you're locked in here, like you can't change it that much. There's not like wiggle room for improvement initiated by what the bottom side wants that doesn't have the power. That was like a really overblown explanation, but that's why I love live streams like this, as I can just like freely ramble about whatever and not have to worry about sounding intelligent and coherent and not repeating myself 10,000 times like I would in a video. But hopefully you guys that like answered your question. But like I think traditional stuff is fun. Like I think 1950s relationships are fun as like a role play thing. I think making homemade jam is fun. Like, you don't have anything against that. But it's like the inherent beliefs about gender and godliness that lead to a lot of spousal abuse that I'm not comfortable promoting in any way, shape, or form. If your name is in proper case, does that mean you're a switch? Obviously, George, that's the only answer. Oh no, we're actually getting directions for how to install a ceiling fan. So, if you're there, if you're here and listening, you've now had your question answered about how to install ceiling fans. Maybe mostly. Given your thoughts on electricity, how do you feel about electroplay? I feel like it's any other like kind of risk-aware consensual kink. Like if other people want to do it, it's fine. Like I don't have problems with it as like a kink. Like I've tried it before, which is why I have opinions about it. I don't like violet wands. Tens units are fairly alright. I can do them with other things. Like that's all fine. I don't think it's like bad and people shouldn't do it ever. It's just like not my favorite in terms of sensation. And yeah, I guess that's my opinion about it. I don't think a lot of people, I think people have like a more solid understanding before trying it that electricity is probably dangerous. So less people tend to like just wing it at electroplay compared to like choking people. So I'm a little bit less worried about it than I am with stuff like that. So it's less on my radar as a thing that needs to be addressed. what is a good way to bring up a kink that scares a lot of people? So, I think I have this in my FAQ as like a general link, but I will double check just to make sure I'm not lying on myself. Where can I see my description box? Okay, it's not my like capital thing, but it's in there. Oh, we have a super chat, I think.
Deliria donated $5. Thoughts on attending a local community's events while traveling on vacation? I was in a city for a week and found some fun events on FL, but decided not to go because I wasn't sure if outsiders would be accepted.
Oh, I think as per usual, that definitely depends on what community you're in. Like even within BDSM, like I know a lot of leather people, a lot of people that do MS that are like truck drivers, for example. A lot of truck drivers are kinky. I don't know why. Just I guess the thing that happens. And they on their truck routes, when they have time in their truck routes for like a day off, like they will go to like a masked event or a leather community event or a cigar social. And they don't know anybody there. They just show up and are like, "Hey, who likes motorcycles and whiskey?" And they have a fun time. Like, and people are like super excited to hear about their stories and their travels, learn where they've gone. Super welcoming, super friendly. Like leather folk are just like salt of the earth, truly. So I think in that scenario, like, and like that person literally would go to like dozens of communities, like over the course of a year, like so many places. If you're like in a more general, random Joe Schmo kind of a setting where it's gonna be a super generalized event. I mean, every experience I've had traveling, going to other kink communities has always been really positive. I would say the two only kind of negative interactions I've had are for very different reasons and aren't because of like being an outsider made me unwelcome. The first one, like the event wasn't even bad, but I was in San Francisco for Folsom a couple years ago, and that first time we went, we decided to try and go to an event at a local dungeon, and it was packed to the gills. Oh my god, I've never been in a dungeon that busy before. Like it was like especially with COVID, like I cannot imagine being in a space like that ever again. Like it was so many people, literally elbow to elbow. Like except for they had jam packed like runways and hallways and corridors basically, and then the actual play spaces were taped off only to be used by people that were actually playing. And so everywhere else was just like absolutely like wall to wall people. And so that was just like a lot of people and it was kind of overwhelming. Like I loved the play space, the furniture was great. Everyone I ran into was great, but like I couldn't talk to anyone that I didn't already know because it was like being in the most crowded house party I've ever gone to in my life. Like it was so many people. And then the other negative experience I've had is when I traveled abroad and I was in the UK. I had someone that, like, actually, I had two people. I had two people that touched me without my permission in, like, very awkward and uncomfortable ways, we shall say. And so neither one of those scenarios were because I was like an outsider that like was unwelcome. I mean, in the last one, they knew I was American because I talked like an American. So they probably figured that part out. But that didn't contribute to the interaction. They were just like, ooh, shiny latex. Let me touch your chest. You know, oh, now I've messed up my camera. It doesn't like the hands in front. So that wasn't because of anything about being an outsider. It was just like Torture Garden doesn't have very robust ideas about consent, but then again, people didn't like hearing that. They were like, listen, stupid American, we drink up here and we have parties like this and just deal with it because that's what's normal up here. And it's like, okay, well then I guess I just won't visit your country ever again. I'm sorry for pointing out that your consent practices could be better and improved upon. I am so sorry for the grave offense that I have caused. In any case, What was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, I just think, I like, overall, I just think if you feel brave enough and you have the energy to, because, like, traveling can definitely make energy a little bit lower. But, like, I would just go. Like, if there's a lower stakes kind of social event, like, maybe like a full-on play party, maybe there's, like, a tea event or a dinner, a trivia night, a discussion group, something that's maybe more talking focused as opposed to play, that might be easier to get into. And usually, like, every experience I've had, like, at least in my local space, like, we're always excited to meet people that are traveling and are just here for work and are, we're just like, oh my gosh, like, where are you from? Is there a kink there? What's it like? We're just, like, very excited. So we tend to actually be pretty, pretty positive towards outside people where I'm from, but I can't speak for everywhere. Oh my gosh, what is going on with, where did my chat go? Where'd my pop-out chat go? Bring it back to me, YouTube. There we go. Much better. Oh no, okay, I definitely lost part of the chat. Oh, YouTube, why? Okay, I don't know where exactly I'm at. I just know that I'm much later in the chat than I was. So, as always, I will remind people when we get to the last, like, 15-20 minutes, so like 20 minutes from now, if I didn't ask your question by then, like, definitely re-ask it, because YouTube has, like, a limit with how far I can scroll up in the chat, and every once in a while it, like, boots me back down. So just remember that I may miss something, and you can always remind me later if I miss something and you want me to ask it if I haven't yet. Oh, okay, so from the sex education, the ace character has a girlfriend. Oh, okay, she's asexual but not aromantic. Okay, she's just ace. She's not arrow ace, which is fine. We love aces. We love arrow aces. We love everyone. Okay, I'm moving again because I have somehow also moved too far. Okay, will I stay in focus now? That's the question. Listen, I have a love-hate relationship with True Blood. Like, oh my god, if I have to listen to the girl's Louisiana accent one more time, oh my god. I don't think the actress was even... I am ashamed to admit I have watched all of True Blood. By god, it goes in a weird direction at the end. I was not expecting the ending to be the way that it was. But, yeah. The actress is fucking from Winnipeg. She's Canadian. I don't even think she's probably ever been to Louisiana before. She was on the show. Okay, I was correct. She's not like her accent. Like the first like 2 seasons was like unbearable to watch. And it's like, listen, let you in on a little EV life fact here that not many people are aware of. I will say, I've lived in a lot of places in my life. I was born in Mississippi. That's probably very surprising to people. I was born in Mississippi, so I have opinions about people that do accents about places they never lived or been to. But here we are. It's a Kiwi. What do you call a Kiwi Canadian combo? Because that's apparently whatever Suki's actress is. I don't even know how to pronounce her last name. Anna Paquin? Something? I don't know. Just Anna. Just call her Anna. The Kiwi Canadian combo. Is there a word for that? Frozen kiwi? Snowy kiwi? Northern kiwi? Silver is/was considered a holy metal, so it repelled the dead like vampires and cursed like werewolves. Oh, that makes sense. I do like Gothabilly. I do. That's like my guilty pleasure music. I like gothabilly, and then whatever genre Twin Temple is, like Twin Temple's like my like I don't know if they go between being one of my top bands and like top 5. Like top 3 or top 5, Twin Temple. It's like satanic doo-wop is I think how they describe it. So good. Twin Temple's the best. I'm probably going to listen to them later now. I haven't actually listened to them in a little bit. Whose vampire rules are we using needs to be a t-shirt. Listen, if I ever get to go to a LARPing event again or like an in-person Dungeons and Dragons party, I'm making a t-shirt and it's going to say whose vampire rules are we using. No, if I get to do a Vampire the Masquerade, like World of Darkness, like pen and paper scenario, I am printing that shirt for everyone I'm playing with and we're all going to wear it and we're going to remember it for later. I am not Canadian, no. I know the lumberjack maybe throws it off a little bit. I've been to Canada. I'm not from Canada. Yeah, I don't know. My family, I don't think I have any connection, really. So I apologize for any Canadian confusion that's happened. Listen, Dylan, we are not hating on the random trivia. We love the random trivia. You are not being a smartass. Do not worry. Thank you for sharing the fun facts. We love it. Hey, Evie, have you ever been in a long-distance relationship, BDSM or regular? I have been in a regular long-distance relationship. And I've also been, I don't know if this counts as long-distance, I have been in relationships that started in person and then became long-distance also. So I have done that. But I don't give advice about long-distance BDSM relationships because I do think it is very different to try and maintain a power exchange relationship long-term versus just being vanilla partners, you know? So I just really feel like that's different. What caused you to lose the Mississippi accent? Living 20 million other places. Oh my god, she's gonna like make me the leader of Clan Toreador. No, I always play a Toreador too. Oh, I've looked at some of the other clans too, and they're really cool. There's just too many. Toreador is the old standby though. I just wish the Bruja weren't so just like edgy. They need to stop being like, sometimes the Bruja are just like 15-year-old atheists and they just need to like calm down a little bit, you know? Yes, we do. We love Fundy Fridays. Listen, I think people who grew up really religious like the channel. I don't think that Fundy Fridays was ever very religious herself, but like there's definitely like Fundy Friday fans that have always been atheists. There are Fundy Friday fans that are currently Christians that find evangelical fundamentalists to be like abhorrent to their interpretation of religion and like bad for their religion. And there's people that used to be religious that are now atheists that watch Fundy Fridays, and we all get along together, and it's great. Do you feel that society thinks that male subs, quote, don't exist? Because I feel the perception is sometimes internalized a bit by some male subs. I don't think it's that they don't think they exist. Like, I think there's too many, like, I could put together a gag reel of representations of male submission in movies and in TV shows. Like there's, I'm sure there's been something in, like, every adult cartoon ever. There's all kinds of just like bit gags about like, oh, we accidentally found this person's sex dungeon on all sorts of TV shows, and there's lots of things about like on even on like CSI or things like that where, you know, male submissive killed by serial killer female dominatrix. Like, it's totally a plot line. So I think that with male submissives. It's not that they don't exist. And this is what I talk about in the video I'm working on. It's not that they don't exist. It's that they don't consider them to be like real men. Like, in order to be a submissive man, your like masculinity card gets removed. And I think because of that, that can make male submissives feel invisible because they aren't like recognized as having desires that are like authentic to their gender or something. I don't know how to phrase that exactly. But I think that like male subs in general like definitely have that feeling of like people don't think I'm real. I'm not as like important or popular as female submissives. I get the short end of the stick. I think a lot of that is true for sure. I don't think it's always as bad as some people think it is or assume it is, but definitely like male submissives get like the short end of the stick as far as BDSM like titles and gender combinations. Oh, okay. Thank you, CJ. So CJ discovered the John Oliver episode I was talking about. It's season 8, episode 21, ransomware. Oh my god, that's what it was. They put ransomware in the chastity devices. Oh my god, yes. Essentially, researchers found a ransomware vulnerability in the chastity cage and locking the butt plug app. Listen, do not trust your genitals to electrical devices that lock. Like, at least have it be analog and mechanical. Like, that's... I get why you would want it to be remote, but, like, people can hack into your fucking smart fridge, okay? If they can hack into your smart fridge, they're gonna hack into your sex toys, okay? Be safe with your genitals. It's a hard line. Passionate about this. Last thing I want is someone to message me being like, Evie, I'm sorry, but I didn't like watch your live stream, and then I was using this butt plug app with my mistress who lives in California and I'm in Kentucky, and somebody hacked it because my network wasn't secure and they locked my butt plug and I had to go to the ER to get it removed with a some kind of like horrifying medical device. And like, I just don't want that to happen. Like, it's funny because it's ridiculous, but also like fucked up. Like, why? Like I just imagine like being on your phone and like wearing a butt plug and then like getting a message being like, "Hello, we're Russian hackers. We have hacked into your butt plug. If you don't send us $1,000, your butt plug will be locked permanently." Like, I'm losing my mind thinking about this. It's so ridiculous, but it can happen, and it can happen to your butt. So don't let it be your butt, okay? I will never take a sponsorship from an electric butt plug company. That's my promise. I'm extremely submissive and I'm a woman, but I'm highly doubt any woman to consider my dynamic very traditional. LOL. Exactly. Yeah, like being submissive and being a woman definitely doesn't have to look like traditional gender roles. Although I think a lot of people stereotype it to be that way, where it's like, oh, you're a woman and that's like a whole other conversation. Is people that think being a woman and submissive means that you're like conforming to the patriarchy, or you're doing this because of gender roles or because of religion or whatever. And it's like, no, it's just like, listen, it's nice to relax, okay? Sometimes it's nice to have order, organization, and rules and structure, and just because it comes in this form doesn't mean anything, okay? But the people that think that it's just internalized misogyny will rarely, if ever, be convinced by any argument you make, so it's really not worth spending a ton of brain energy on. Yeah, exactly. It's got to be consensual, dude. I'm really interested in the 50s housewife stuff, and it's still really complicated, but the fact that I'm allowed to do that because I want to is big for me. Okay, so I talk about 1950s dynamics in the video that I just made, like, as a small aside in it. And I don't want to make any, like, 100% promises. I'm making a 95% promise that I will be doing my next BDSM 101 video on 1950s house, like, I don't want to call it like just 1950s household dynamics. I want to be gender neutral with it because, listen, we can fuck with gender roles and still have a 1950s dynamic, okay? We can have both at once. We can have everything we want. So I think my next BDSM 101 video is going to be on the 1950s dynamic because I know a lot of y'all have been waiting for that for a while, and it's time because I literally just talked about it in a different video, and it's nice to have a little through line, but it's like I'm working on a Marilyn Manson update. Okay, do you guys remember the story? It's not really a story, a news item about the Australian BDSM cult with like Master Jimmy or whoever, who was like the ex-army guy that got kicked out of the army and had like a harem of like 8 women that lived on his farm compound in rural Australia. Like, do you guys remember that? Do you remember that story? Because there was an update to it, and I don't even think I can say the words for what he was charged for without a trigger warning. So suffice to say, they're really bad. He has like 23 new charges that have just dropped. Listen, new charges just dropped. They're on my SoundCloud. Like, go check them out. I don't know what that phrase goes with. So a ton of new charges. Interestingly, the slavery charges were dropped, but I think that's because they can make a much stronger argument to kind of pin him on for the new charges. I don't know why they kind of went that route, but they did. So very interesting updates coming. If you're into the Marilyn Manson BDSM cult stories that I've been covering for news items, there's updates. They are updates, my friends. They are coming. They had to use a blowtorch and a pair of bolt cutters to remove the... Oh my god. I don't listen. A lot of us like fire play. Most of us don't involve blowtorches in that. If you do, write me an email. Let me know how the fuck you do that because I don't understand. Do you have like a welding roleplay kink? Like, what's the scenario there? What's going on? Oh my gosh. The first event I went to was pretty packed and it was very overwhelming. I had just stepped in the door and someone was asking me to rub my feet, overload for a noob. Why do we all have these interactions with feet people? Okay, so this wasn't my first kink event, but it was my first event at a new play space. And it wasn't the first person I talked to. This is actually like a little bit different from your story, but it is like, I think it was like the second person I talked to. And I was actually in the middle of a conversation with someone else. And I left to go get water. And in the middle of me going to get water, I had this guy like stop and like talk to me about stuff. And like, I think he kind of assumed I was a dom for some reason. And then he like wanted to do feet stuff with me and was like really interested in learning about like foot massage and if there were any feet related events he could go to. And I'm like, listen, I'm new here. I'm not the tour guide. Like, I didn't say it like that, but in my head I was like, I'm not the tour guide. I don't know. I just got here. Like, and then I was like, sorry, I have to go back. I'm like talking to this other person. Like, have a nice event. Bye. Like, I just left. I was like, I tried to be nice about it, but in my head I was like, why did this guy talk to me about feet parties? Like, did I give off feet party vibes? I don't know. But yeah, it can be overwhelming. I think he was just like, I don't think he was trying to be malicious or mean. He was just like wanting to have a conversation. And it's hard to like put yourself out there, you know? No, yeah, my camera just like focuses in and out because I move around a lot when I stream. So, sorry about that. I guess I could probably like, there we go. I could just do that. Sometimes what happens also is my camera, like if I have to mess with the plugs at all, like it'll move from where I normally have my, like this is so much better. Look, I'm actually like in mostly the center of the frame and my microphone isn't like center stage. So like sometimes I just have to remember to move my camera back a little bit. 1950s would make it gay. Puts on a Trixie costume. Oh my God. Yes, please. Listen, I don't like to make judgments about relationships or like what's the best or what is the best kink relationship. But a gay 1950s relationship is going to be up there. That's going to be like top 10 best kink dynamics, okay? Like, just so wholesome and yet so diverse and so subversive. How would my dom and I go about doing puppy play for the first time together? I've done it before, but he hasn't. I'm not sure what a first puppy play scene would be good to start off with and work up front. So I mean, it's been a little while since I made like kind of a basic video about pet play, but in general, I think my advice is you want to start like small, and you want to start with something that's not like gonna get anyone too deep in headspace. So I really like trick training or treat training as like my two big suggestions, because those are things that I think are easy to do if you know other things. If they're like new to BDSM at all, it'll still be an adjustment. But if you've ever done anything with like position training before or mental bondage, like it does kind of map onto some kind of like pet play stuff. But just like general like having fun, doing pets, treats, playing fetch, just like really basic low stakes stuff, I think is good. Oh, thank you, Alex. Let's see. Alex says, I almost hate how I know about Manson's allegations, but I can't just not listen to his music. It's just so powerful and emotional, and his artistic background is very inspirational. Yeah, I think the phrase like separating art from the artist gets overused a lot, like in particular with Kanye West of all people. But I understand. Like, I think like if you're listening to his music on like a free service and you're not like buying limited edition versions of his albums direct from him or buying his merchandise or otherwise like financially supporting his brand, like I think if you're just like listening to his music on a CD you already own, like that's probably fine. Like I don't want to say anyone, and I don't think I've ever mentioned this, like I don't think I want anyone to like boycott Marilyn Manson or never listen to Marilyn Manson ever again, because I know his music is really important for a lot of people and very foundational to a lot of people's like teenage experience. Like for me, that band was Evanescence. Like I'm just like an Evanescence like a nerd. I love even their recent music. I still really like and listen to. Like if something came out about like Amy Lee being a sex pest, like I was like, I don't think I could give up listening to them because they're like too important to me as a band. But so I can empathize with like why you wouldn't want to give up listening to their music, but at the same time, like I wouldn't pay for a concert after that. I wouldn't like buy the new album. I wouldn't buy merchandise. Like if I was going to like I would find like somebody who's re-uploaded the music on YouTube and listen to it from their account or something, like because there's definitely people that do like the lyrics videos for songs, people that just like rip albums that you can download online. Not that I'm promoting piracy in Minecraft. So I just think there are options for like still being able to listen, because for me the important part is like I don't want to give Manson money to pay for his legal defense where he's accusing a bunch of women of lying and having a conspiracy against him. So like that's my boundary, but you're gonna have different boundaries. I just feel like I just don't want to support something with my wallet, even if I enjoy the things that he's created in the past. We are, let's see. Oh, excuse me. We are at the 15-minute mark. So if you have not re-asked your questions, I would ask them now. If you have not asked at all, you can ask them now, and I will attempt to answer them, but I make no promises because I likely will rant for a long time. Do you know anyone that has been to the Texas All-State Spanking Party? I have never heard of that. I'm just processing, that's like the most Texas name for it also. Like, it could be the Texas All-State Barbecue Fair, but instead it's the Texas All-State Spanking Party. I love it. I've never been. If anyone has opinions about it they want to share, you can put it in the comments. I just love the idea that there's an all-state spanking party. That sounds amazing and fun. Is that like, I'm assuming that's like a Spanko thing though, which is like, we can get into a whole conversation about Spankos and BDSM and how those are different or the same or whatever. Going to possibly my first munch, what are some red/green flags you have when looking up kink groups on FET? Okay, so groups. Okay, so you mean, okay, I'm going to assume what you mean by kink groups is not like subject groups on FetLife. Like, subject groups would be like California area personal ads. I think what you mean are like organization profiles that host parties. So I would look at how many people are RSVP'd. Is it like 2 people? Is it 15? Do you have any mutual friends? Okay, sorry, I'm gonna answer this. We just got a $200 super chat from CJ. Thank you, CJ. I don't know what to do with that. Thank you. I don't know if you had a question that went with that. If you did, let me know and I will happily answer it. Wow, thank you so much. That's amazing. I was like, I thought that was like 200 in like a different currency. I thought it would be like 200 renminbi or something. And I was like, no, that's USD. Okay, all right. I promise I'm not a findom, but thank you. I hope it wasn't a typo. If it was a typo, if you meant $20, like, let me know. I don't know if I can do anything about it. But like, I definitely, if you didn't mean to send $200, I don't want to take your money if you didn't mean it. Anyways, until I hear back from this person, I will continue to answer the original question, which is, red flags and green flag for groups. How many people are RSVP'd? Are they like blank profiles? Is it like 2 people with dick pics? Is it like 10 people that actually seem to be in the community and lifestylers? Do they have a good description for the event? Do they have safety rules easily available, a dress code, event information? Like, that is what I would look for. If it's just like a blank profile that has no information about the event, that's just like, meet at Bob's place, super fun munch, and there's 2 people RSVP'd and they both have dick pics, like, I wouldn't go to that one. But if it's like a more detailed page that's like, hey, here's our organization, here's what I like detailed, like, here's our organization, here's how we were founded, here's our rules, here's what our events are like, here's how to RSVP, these are frequently asked questions, like 15 people RSVP, they're all like filled out profiles, like, you know, like that's the kind of thing I would look for in a basic level. But it's really hard to know, especially when it's your first event, if it's going to be good or bad or not. But personally for me, just going off of those like initial signs about like details and efforts put into even the event description has like not steered me wrong before. No typo. Well, thank you so much, CJ. I hope that means you've enjoyed the live stream. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay. I think we got probably time for at least 2 more questions. Why? Like, listen, okay, the whole butt plug conversation, like, YouTube, like, yeeted, like, half of the comments about the butt plug conversation. Oh my gosh. Just stop it. YouTube's like, listen, we can't let people know about butt plugs. Every comment about butt plugs deleted. Bye. No one can know about butt plugs now. They're a secret. Shh. Don't let anyone know. Even though John Oliver on a segment that's on YouTube can talk about them. The irony is not lost on me. I get comments from people at work that when they first see me, I'm intimidating. I try to be as fun and welcoming as possible to new hires, but how can I make them feel less scared? I feel like I'm going to have to pass this off to maybe a different person if anyone in the chat wants to answer this question, because I do not have that problem and therefore do not know how to fix it. I think if you're like a larger, imposing dude, if you're like tall, if you're muscular, anything like that, trying to even your like eye level is like a really good first step, or even put them like below their eye level, or put you below their eye level. Like if you sit down, if they approach you, like stay seated, don't like lean over them, give them space. Don't make like projecting outward type gestures. Like if you're very like a gestury like physical person, like try to keep them kind of within your own space bubble. But I just think that some people like have an energy. Like I just think some people put out an energy that comes across like either very friendly, very approachable, intimidating, controlling, whatever. And that like first read can totally be wrong. But yeah, if it's like coworkers, then you probably want them to be able to get along with you. But I don't know, maybe you have other people that you're more friendly with at work that know you better. Like if you could ask them like, hey, like what was it that like when you first approached me like made me seem intimidating? Maybe you have like resting intimidation face and you just like do this and it seems really intimidating for some reason. I can't be intimidating if I wanted to. So again, you're asking the wrong person, but if anyone has ideas to share, that would be very helpful, I think. A maple syrup kiwi? Oh, perfect. Exactly. But her brother in the show has an amazing accent even though he's Australian. Good point. I have to remember, there are definitely some like redneck Australian accents. So maybe he's just the Australian version of a redneck, and so it was easy to adopt the twang, you know? I don't know. That's the only theory I got that makes any sense. I'm from Louisiana. I've never heard anyone sound like that, and it's fucking painful to me. Like, why couldn't she just have listened to, like, Britney Spears talk for, like, just put that on a tape recorder. Just listen to how Britney Spears talk and been like, okay, I get it now. Like, I understand how they talk in Louisiana because I listen to Britney Spears. Like, plus, one, you get to listen to Britney Spears. That's enjoyable. You get to listen to her music probably a little bit, have a little nostalgia trip. It's win, 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 as far as I'm concerned. Dear Evie, do you ever hate your BDSM preferences because they make you different and they can make things complicated, for example, in love? Wishing you love, your videos are amazing. Thank you, Melanie. Oh, hi, Brittany. You're coming in at the very end, but I'm glad you could make it. We're now talking about the second Brittany. There's Brittany, well, actually, Brittany Simon's the first Brittany, and Britney Spears is the second Britney in this scenario. But I have never really like resented being into BDSM. If anything, kind of discovering that was like what it was and finding people that were like-minded was really freeing, really empowering. I mean, it has made things more complicated because even if you are into BDSM, you're not necessarily going to be compatible with everyone else just because they like BDSM. I think the more issues it causes is like, I mean, with COVID and everything and not going to in-person events, like I've mostly been trying to meet people on like dating websites, and let me tell you, I have gotten a few interactions or profiles I've seen. I usually don't even interact with them, where it's like, oh, you're like kinky, but what you really mean is you like role-playing in the bedroom and one time you used a blindfold. Cool. We're like, I guess technically the same species, but we're very evolutionarily divergent if we're going with the species analogy. So that's kind of made it harder just because it's like, okay, well, you're kinky, but we have very different ideas about what this means or like what role it plays in my life, or like people that are okay with some types of BDSM but not others. And like, listen, like for me, like I'm very accepting of the full package, like power exchange, not power exchange, bedroom only, not bedroom only. Like I just think all of that's like fine as long as it's based in consent. And a lot of people that are bedroom BDSM people that aren't in the lifestyle are like almost anti-lifestyle sometimes. Like they just think like, oh well, like, I just do it in the bedroom because it's fun. But like I'm not like one of those people. Like they get kind of like aggressive / judgmental about doing it as a lifestyle, because even though they do it in the bedroom for sex, they don't think it's fine outside of the bedroom. Like, oh well, doing it in the bedroom is fine, but as soon as you do the same thing outside of it, then suddenly it's now abusive, even though it could literally be the same activity. It's like, wait, what? How does that work exactly? And like kind of running into that can be frustrating, because it's like, oh, we don't have the same idea about this. That's not going to work, is it? But like I would rather, even if I have to strike out a lot, I would rather find somebody that I'm really compatible with, as opposed to, I don't know, just having a bunch of like relationships with people that don't understand who I am and having to hide it. Like that would be really shitty. Both myself and my dom have pretty severe social anxiety, but we also would like to possibly attend events in the future. Oh, what is happening with my frame rate? Camera, what's going on? Maybe if I turn it off and turn it back on again, that'll work. Oh. What's going on with my camera? Oh, it's not hot. It's raining outside. It's like 60 something degrees. Okay, this is a very unusual reaction. It looks fine. I think it's something with OBS. Okay, I'm going to turn my camera off. I'm just going to check. Because you guys can still hear me. I think it's an OBS like frame rate issue, or maybe it's like, well, it is raining. Well, I have fiber internet, so it shouldn't be that. I don't know. Technology, as always, betraying me. Okay, well, I guess I will end the stream in darkness. We have 2 minutes left to go. But thank you all so much for this. This is like really fun. We had so much fun today. Oh my gosh. Oh, Bandit's honking. I can't show you guys Bandit at the end because my camera is being stupid. Usually when it's the frame rate issue like that, it's like something with OBS on my internet side, not usually the camera itself. What a way to end the stream. Must be the Russian butt hackers. They hacked my camera, damn it. They hacked my offline camera somehow. Oh no, that's right. Oh, wait for a second. I thought, Phaelus Ren, I thought your icon was I love you, but I've chosen darkness. Like album cover, is it not? I was really excited for a second. I was like, oh my gosh, I love them. Nobody knows who they are. Oh, yeah, no, Taken in Hand and Christian Domestic Discipline are like the same thing. I don't recommend either of them because spousal abuse. I'm gonna just try my camera one more time and just see if it's like... Okay, are we... Okay, well, fuck it. Like, I'm gonna go for 5 more minutes just to, like, be, like, mad that my, like, frame rate just fucking went through the ground for, like, 2 minutes. Like, I'm gonna answer one more question. Just because I want to, and I don't want my internet to win. I'm not punishing my camera. I'm punishing OBS for giving me a shit frame rate. That's what I'm mad about. But yeah, Taken in Hand, if I remember correctly, is like Christian Domestic Discipline. Is that the one that the Pearls invented? Is that the one where they misinterpret the Bible scripture about like spare the rod, spoil the child? Listen, this is like the one I will pass on this wisdom to you because I think this is really important. So the verse of the Bible that talks about like sparing the rod, punishing the child. Okay, if you don't know anything about Christianity, like there are tons of like sheep and lamb analogies because they love shepherds because this is like the ancient fertile crescent, and so of course they do. And when they say spare the rod, spoil the child, they are referring to a shepherd's crook, and a shepherd's crook is used to gently guide the sheep in the correct direction. You do not boink the sheep over the head with the shepherd's crook. You're like, okay, sheep, go this way now, go this way. And it's about how you are supposed to guide your children in the correct direction, not physically beat them with an actual rod. And that, my friends, is my theology lesson for you all today. Don't beat your partners because the Bible says so, because it doesn't say that. Okay, I'm going to answer one more question. But we're just having a great conversation, and I just don't... Okay, I need to... We're just talking about the butt plug. Yes, Master Jimmy. That is his name. I mean, listen, when I joke on Instagram, like, about there being a Master Big Dick Jimmy, I made up that name as a joke. The Master Jimmy that is the sex trafficker in Australia, his actual literal Instagram name was Big Dick Jimmy. I am not fucking with you. That was his Instagram name. You cannot make this up. It is stranger than fiction. It is funnier than fiction. It is... I made it up and it's still funnier. Yeah, they're still in court. I will do an update about it with more details and like court documents and stuff, but it is going to be a long process because, oh my god, there are so many things. Oh, 5 a.m. in Sweden. I'm having kinky morning coffee. Oh, you're having fika? I would love to have fika. That would be so much fun. Isn't fika like an early afternoon thing, not a breakfast thing? If you bonk a sheep, the ram will do you a creep. I appreciate the attempt to make a like Froggo Doggo meme variation. Oh, taking a hand was explained to me as a one partner love relationship, whether it is male or female. Okay. I thought it had religious connotations. Maybe it will reveal itself to have originated there and then to have changed over time. I will do more research because I want to know, because I am curious about that. The transformed why fuck me right up as a teenager. Listen, I'm very glad I grew up Catholic and did not have to deal with this Protestant ass bullshit, okay? Every single time I listen to anything related to evangelicals and Protestants, I'm like, oh my god, thank god we just have like... We had rules already. We didn't have spokespeople on TV selling books in the 80s being like, hey guys, so the Pope is Satan and beat your children. Like, that's like we didn't have that. At least we there was bad stuff for sure, but we weren't getting shilled lies about God made you to be the perfect helpmeet for his husband, for your husband, not for his husband. God is gay. That is what I think I just said there. Fika can be any time. It's pretty much our excuse to go slack. That's amazing. We love it. It's like a cigarette break without cigarettes and probably less lung cancer. Listen, I was gonna just end it with saying like God's gay, but like I just like I'm just like trying to like we just keep getting sucked into conversations about stuff and then I don't answer questions. That was not on purpose when I said that, but sometimes I say things and I make them a joke to cover up my failures. To be honest. Are the Bruja like pizza cutters all edgy, no point? Oh, somebody called him out. I mean, listen, I'm glad we have a vampire category that all the edgy atheist 15-year-olds can play. Oh yeah, I didn't get to finish answering the anxiety question. Okay, so for the social anxiety, I would say if this is the advice I give, if you're not a nerdy geek person, I apologize, but this advice is kind of basically for that. So if you have any opportunity to go to an event that is a social event that has a theme to it, like a board game or a trivia night or a discussion group, attend that if it's around a specific regimented activity where you know you're always going to have a subject to go back to. And if you want to just play the game and not have to do small talk, you can do that. I don't have social anxiety, but I definitely am an introvert. And so I can mildly understand that experience. But definitely like look at how many people RSVP, try to go to a smaller event, try to go to something that's a little bit more intimate, focused around a group activity. If you can, maybe do something online first. There are definitely still online events happening, and I find that for a lot of people, from what I understand, at least a lot of people who have social anxiety have said that online events, because they can like literally freely leave and come and go whenever they want to, are a lot easier for them than just spontaneously going to an in-person like 50 like person event, you know? Yes. But definitely, I mean, like I said, like the kink community and the geek community totally overlap. And even if you don't find an event that's tailored around that, if you go to like even if you just have like a local group board on FetLife that's like events in Chicago, like post about like, hey, would somebody want to organize a meetup at this board game cafe? Like, who wants to play Magic? Like, I guarantee you're going to find people that want to do that thing. And it's a really great way to meet people where you're not just like, hey, I'm here, like, talk to me. That's the only activity we can do is talking. Like, when there's something else as a buffer, it makes it a lot easier. Um, I guess, yeah. Apparently, when you say God's gay, it just flags it for some reason. That is, yeah, I had to just enable all those. Okay, interesting. Okay, well, that being said, everyone, our final note for today is Evie Protestant ass bullshit. Yeah, exactly. like, do kinky Bible studies exist? Yes, they do. That's actually what the acronym BDSM stands for. Is um, Bible discussion study meetup. You can take that one to the bank. Kinky Clue board game night, Professor Plum, and Colonel Musters while using the candlestick in the parlor. Exactly. Oh my gosh. You're gonna do just fine. You guys, you're gonna do great. Don't worry about it. So yeah, I think on that note, remember that God is gay, and gay 1950s relationships are the best, and don't use butt plugs that are connected to the internet. that's my advice. That's all I got. I'll see you guys in a couple of days with a video. Maybe next week, another live stream. Catch you at the same place, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.